In this podcast episode, RJ Mitte, widely recognized for his role as Walt Jr. on Breaking Bad, shares reflections on how the show changed the trajectory of his life and career. Although it was a dream come true to be part of such a groundbreaking series, he was initially unaware of the colossal impact the show would have. The pilot episode, in particular, stood out to RJ as expertly crafted, more akin to a movie than a typical television episode, complete with a clear beginning, middle, and end. Over time, the series developed organically, with writers adjusting storylines and character arcs season by season. He also highlights that while the show struggled with viewership during its original AMC run, its later availability on Netflix significantly amplified its popularity, fostering a global fan base and becoming one of the most pirated shows in TV history. RJ explains how Breaking Bad brought heightened awareness to the realities of methamphetamine abuse, a subject that had often been marginalized or ignored. The show's portrayal was far from glamorizing drug culture. Rather, it underscored the devastating consequences on families and communities. This socially conscious impact remains a source of pride for RJ, who also appreciated the collaborative and supportive atmosphere on set despite the stressful long filming days, many lasting around 16 hours. The ensemble's camaraderie, especially with co-stars like Bryan Cranston and Anna Gunn, created an environment that balanced tough content with levity and support. RJ candidly addresses the challenges faced by child actors growing up in Hollywood. Starting as a young extra around age 12, RJ recalls how fame and formless industry dynamics can be bewildering for kids. The glamorous veneer, the parties, the status, the open bars can mask a perilous environment. Young actors often struggle because they don't see the forest for the trees, unable to anticipate the long-term toll of early exposure to the industry's darker elements. Drugs, substance abuse, exploitation, and predatory behavior are alarmingly common, especially given the pressure to maintain relevance and income as youth and novelty fade. He likens the industry's intensity to a mountain climb, where the height and allure are intoxicating, but the inevitable fall once popularity dwindles can be devastating. RJ notes that many young talents are ill-equipped to handle the drastic lifestyle shifts that come with aging out of hot status. The absence of protective structures means many are left vulnerable when the party ends and the paychecks stop. For RJ, the key has been maturity and personal responsibility, assessing cause and effect with every decision and prioritizing authentic self-care over fleeting indulgence, a stance that helped him avoid the common traps that derail many child actors. Throughout the conversation, RJ reveals a sobering view of money's corruptive potential in Hollywood. He describes money as a necessary tool, but warns how power imbalances and desperation can lead individuals to sacrifice their values for wealth or fame. RJ shares his own painful experience with financial mismanagement, having a business manager who siphoned off large sums of money, fooling him with fake tax filings and causing him to pay more in taxes than he actually earned from Breaking Bad. This betrayal, unfortunately, is not uncommon in the industry, especially among young or vulnerable actors who lack financial literacy or oversight. He stresses that such exploitation stems from larger systemic failures, as the IRS and legal systems hold the individual accountable regardless of deception. RJ emphasizes the importance of financial vigilance, record-keeping, and being proactive in protecting oneself. The consequences of neglect are harsh and long-lasting, sometimes resulting in a decade-long struggle to recover. Yet despite these hardships, RJ views these experiences as valuable lessons that have fueled his savvy approach to money management today, underscoring that actors should never underestimate the importance of understanding their finances. RJ offers fascinating insights into the production realities of Breaking Bad, including logistical challenges and technical details that shaped the series' authenticity. The show was among the last to be shot on 35mm film, a costly and meticulous process that limited the number of takes and heightened the pressure to perform perfectly. RJ recalls a particularly nightmarish incident when film reels were accidentally left out and run over by a plane, forcing the crew to reshoot entire scenes under tight schedules. Memorization techniques played a critical role in RJ's performance. He memorized lines rhythmically and read them before sleep, believing this allowed deeper absorption. The quality writing on Breaking Bad made delivering lines much easier compared to other projects. RJ also shares stories about iconic fan-favorite moments, such as the pizza on the roof scene and how certain ad-libbed lines contributed to the show's naturalistic feel. He treasures his collection of memorabilia, including the crutches he used for 7 years, both on and off screen, a Heisenberg hat replica, and various costumes and props. Despite offers worth six figures for these artifacts, he remains attached to them for sentimental reasons, considering them part of his personal history and identity. Despite the acclaim from Breaking Bad, RJ explains the difficulties in escaping the typecast image of Walt Jr. Early in his career, the association with such an iconic role made it both easier to open doors and challenging to be viewed beyond that character. RJ acknowledges the work ahead to solidify his reputation as a versatile actor, selecting projects that showcase his range rather than relying solely on his past fame. He observes how stars like Bryan Cranston and Ed O'Neill evolved their careers over decades to shed prior personas, a transition that naturally takes time and consistent effort. RJ describes his current strategy as guest roles and selective movies to highlight his talent while maintaining his optimism about landing a well-written show that can properly develop a character. Ultimately, he values roles that allow creative depth over rushed productions, reflecting on how Breaking Bad's luxury of time and storytelling quality is increasingly rare in the industry. In an important and sensitive discussion, RJ opens up about facing moral crossroads, including being approached by parties promising stardom in exchange for concessions he wasn't willing to make. Without delving into specifics, he stresses the importance of self-respect and boundaries when confronted with unethical demands. For RJ, these moments crystallize the realization that no role or paycheck is worth compromising one's values or personal integrity. When asked whether such incidents are more common among men or women, he reframes the issue as fundamentally about power rather than gender. The predation is rooted in desperation, money, and the hunger for celebrity status, manifesting in various forms across the industry. RJ advises young actors to remain vigilant and grounded, acknowledging that the sex, drugs, and rock and roll culture surrounding fame can lure people down harmful paths. His perspective advocates for awareness and the courage to say no to protect one's true self. RJ shares an insightful take on personal finance and investment, grounded in decades of experience, both managing his own money and serving as a treasurer for multiple organizations. He admits to a playful side in treating stock investments somewhat like gambling, favoring penny stocks and using tools like ChatGPT for research, but balances this with prudent long-term strategies focusing on assets with low debt and steady income streams. Real estate and index funds also feature in his portfolio, though he refrains from disclosing specific holdings. Interestingly, RJ discusses his fascination with innovative and unconventional investments, including companies involved in asteroid mining rights, a futuristic venture aimed at extracting precious metals from space. He recognizes the speculative nature of such bets, but treats them as small experimental portions of his holdings. His overarching philosophy emphasizes due diligence, transparency, and managing cash flow carefully. Despite public perceptions, RJ denies substantial wealth, underscoring that each dollar is earned through consistent hard work. RJ reflects on how fame influenced his friendships and social interactions, explaining that he deliberately worked to maintain ties with childhood friends despite the rapid changes brought by stardom. Although day-to-day communication may have waned due to life's natural progression, the bonds remain intact, exemplifying his grounding values and loyalty. Public recognition came gradually, around the fourth or fifth season of Breaking Bad, but even today he prefers to keep a low profile in daily life, often growing a beard or altering his appearance to blend in. Dating in the spotlight presents its own unique challenges. RJ reveals that he never used dating apps and was skeptical of people approaching him for the wrong reasons. He recounts stories of impersonators creating fake profiles with his image, highlighting the pitfalls of celebrity dating. He advocates for caution, reminding listeners that not everyone has pure intentions, and stresses the importance of recognizing authentic connections built on trust and mutual respect. Given his own disability, RJ offers a nuanced perspective on representation in film and television. He argues strongly that disabled roles should preferentially go to actors with disabilities to ensure authenticity and opportunity. However, he also acknowledges the marketing and awareness potential when well-known actors without disabilities take on such roles, as these can spark public conversation and drive change, albeit with some controversy. He points out that the industry has seen phases of increased inclusion, yet challenges remain in balancing authenticity with mass appeal. RJ is hopeful that evolving attitudes and advocacy will continue to improve opportunities for disabled actors, promoting diverse casting as both a social imperative and creative enrichment. RJ offers a thoughtful outlook on how artificial intelligence is altering the entertainment landscape. He acknowledges AI's potential as a powerful tool, but remains skeptical about its ability to replace human actors and the essential humanity they bring to storytelling. Reference is made to unions pushing back against AI to protect creative rights and livelihoods. RJ envisions a future where technology complements rather than supplants artists, emphasizing the adaptive nature of both humans and industry. He draws parallels with earlier technological revolutions, such as the advent of personal computers, which were initially resisted but became indispensable. For actors, protecting intellectual property and personal brand will be critical as AI-generated voices and visual effects become more sophisticated. RJ anticipates an ongoing dialogue balancing innovation with ethical safeguards. Beyond his acting career, RJ is deeply engaged in philanthropy, dedicating considerable time and effort to charitable causes. A former patient of Shriners Hospitals for Children, he remains a passionate advocate for the organization, as well as for United Cerebral Palsy and various local community initiatives. His fundraising efforts reportedly total millions of dollars annually, reflecting a commitment to leveraging his platform for positive social impact. RJ stresses that philanthropy is not solely about financial contributions. Donating time, raising awareness, and volunteering are equally vital. He encourages support for initiatives that directly impact affected communities and urges a thoughtful approach to giving that aligns with personal values and meaningful outcomes.